28 new Mega Pokemon have been added to the Pokemon universe, meaning these Pokemon will come to Pokemon Go at some point. So today I've gone ahead and translated these Pokemon into Pokemon Go, and we're going to take a look at what these Pokemon stats, moves, rankings, how good will each one be when they do eventually come to Pokemon Go. And what this will allow you to do is then decide what Megas should you start prepping for by catching high IV or 100% IV versions of them. And let me just tell you, some of these new Megas are very, very strong. Spoiler alert, if you don't want to be spoiled too much, and you haven't played Pokemon Legends ZA, but let's dive into it. Now, first thing to know is that these stats are not official. The Pokédaxi team did their best to translate over the stats from the original games to Pokemon Go, so the stats might be a little bit off, but it'll give you a general idea of how good each Pokemon is. But just note, everything here is still considered technically speculation. But we're gonna get into our first Mega with Mega Meganium, a Grass and Fairy type Pokemon with an attack of 227, stamina of 190, defense of 232, and a max CP at level 50 of 4,667. Now, as far as a grass type raid attacker, when it comes to Pokemon Go, with Magical Leaf and Frenzy Plant, Mega Meganium will have a DPS of 19, TDO of 700, putting it as the number 2 grass type attacker in Pokemon Go. So very, very strong. As far as a fairy type attacker, because it is a fairy type, Meganium currently doesn't really have any fairy moves, but it did gain 2 fairy moves in Legends ZA with Disarming Voice and Dazzling Gleam. So if these moves are ever added to Meganium's move pool in Pokemon Go, it could be good there. I'm also going to be ranking their candy boost typings. If you don't know, Mega Pokemon, when they're Mega Evolved, you get more candy for catching Pokemon the same type as them. So different typings are better than others because different typings are more useful to get more candy for. Grass and Fairy, I'm going to give it an A ranking because honestly, it's pretty good, especially Fairy being a pretty rare type, and the spring themed events usually have Grass and Fairy type Pokemon. But that moves us into the second starter, Mega Emboar, which I would argue is actually my favorite of these 3 new starter Pokemon. It's the starter I chose for my Legends ZA playthrough. Mega Emboar will have an attack of 287, defense of 194, and stamina of 242, with a max CP at level 50 of 4,971. As far as a fire type attacker, with Ember and Blast Burn, it's going to have a DPS of 19 and TDO of 715, putting it at the number 15 fire type attacker overall in Pokemon Go. So not the best there is. There's definitely stronger than this. As far as a fighting type attacker, with Low Kick and Focus Blast, it'll have a DPS of 17 and TDO of 628, with a fighting type ranking of number 11. Overall, Mega Emboar not going to be the best raid attacker, especially for a Mega Pokemon, considering we have Pokemon like Mega Blaziken, which are just kind of better than it. Not going to be the best. Also, for its catch typing, I'm going to give it a C because, again, we already have Mega Blaziken in Pokemon Go, so we're not getting anything new. Mega Emboar is just kind of going to be a worse Mega Blaziken, unfortunately. But I'm sure Dan, our scripter here on the channel, will be happy about that because he just loves Mega Blaziken, so it's not getting outshined. Moving on to the third of the starters, Mega Feraligator, a fan favorite here, a water and dragon type Pokemon with an attack of 305, very, very high, stamina of 198, defense of 227, and max CP at level 50 of 5,160. With Water Gun and Hydro Cannon, Mega Feraligator will have a DPS of 21.5 and TDO of 771 as a water type attacker, putting it in the number 2 slot as a water type attacker in Pokemon Go. Very, very strong, just behind Primal Kyogre. As far as a dragon type attacker, Feraligator currently doesn't have any dragon moves, and it only gained 1 in Legends ZA with Breaking Swipe, but this Pokemon doesn't really have any dragon moves, so for the time being, we can't really look at it as a dragon attacker. As far as its catch type boost, water and dragon is a unique combination of mega types we have not seen yet, which is cool, but there is already a lot of water and dragon type Pokemon in the game, so boosting those types, nothing too special. I will give it a B ranking for the candy catch type boost ranking, whatever we're calling it. Still, it's cool because this Pokemon is the same type as Palkia, which I think is cool. There hasn't been a lot of water and dragon types. We're going to continue on with the starters because the Generation 6 Pokemon also did get Mega forms. With Mega Chesnaught coming to Pokemon, it is going to be a grass and fighting type, the same as it was before, with a stamina of 204, attack of 243, and defense of 283, and a max CP at level 50 of 4,681. As far as a grass type attacker, with Vine Whip and Frenzy Plant, it will have a DPS of 17, TDO of 789, and it will be number 3 as a grass type attacker, so behind Mega Meganium, but still very strong. For fighting type, with Low Kick and Superpower, DPS of 14, TDO of 640, it's going to be the number 23 fighting type attacker in Pokemon Go, so not very good. Doesn't even have the best fighting type moves. It really isn't the powerhouse Mega you would think it would be, and compared to some of the other grass type starters like Meganium and Sceptile, Mega's like not the best, but this Pokemon is very, very tanky across the board. If it's allowed in PvP, it could have some niche play in the Mega Master League. Also for its type combination, it is a unique type, so grass and fighting, pretty good, but I'm still gonna give it a C ranking for the catch candy combination, whatever we're calling it, how good it is. Not the best overall, but could be handy on certain events if we ever have like a grass and fighting themed event. Next up, we have Mega Delphox, which I would say is my favorite from the 3 Kalos starter megas we got, which is going to be a fire and psychic as it was before, attack of 331, really high attack stat, stamina of 181, defense of 236, and max CP at level 50 of 5,451. Now, as far as a fire type attacker, with Fire Spin and Blast Burn, it'll have a DPS of 22, TDO of 768, making it the #1 overall fire type attacker in Pokemon Go. Yes, move aside Mega Charizard. Why? This Pokemon just has an insane attack stat. They just gave it, so it's really, really strong. And for a Psychic type rate attacker, Zen Headbutt and Psychic, DPS of 20, TDO of 689. It's gonna be the #9 Psychic type attacker in the game. Overall, this Pokemon will be very, very strong because it just has an insane DPS stat. However, I will say for certain Pokemon like Bug types, which you want to use fire against, it's not the best choice compared to Mega Charizard Y and Mega Blaziken, which both double resist bug. As far as the type combination, fire and psychic, I'm gonna give it a C ranking for the catch candy boost ranking. Not bad if we ever get a psychic and fire type event, but usually it's not that common of a things we're finding in the wild, and there's just better fire and psychics you could boost. Finally, Mega Greninja, which is another huge fan favorite, dark and water type Pokemon as it was before. Attack of 299 isn't insane. Mega Delphox has a higher attack stat. Stamina of 176, defense of 180, max CP at level 50 of 4,304. Pretty low max CP. Greninja is a very fast Pokemon, but fast Pokemon don't get transverted very well into Pokemon Go. As far as a water type attacker with Water Shuriken and Hydro Cannon, DPS of 22, TDO of 581, it'll be the #3 water type attacker in Pokemon Go. And as a dark type attacker, Feint Attack and Night Slash, 15.9 DPS, 412 for TDO, and it'll be #14 as a dark type. This is a really, really cool Pokemon, but it's just unfortunately outclassed by dark and water type Pokemon. I know it's a fan favorite, and I think we expected a lot better of it, but still, fortunately not amazing. Dark and water is a cool type to boost. However, we already have Mega Gyarados, so I'm gonna give it a C for the catch candy ranking. Not the best because again, Mega Gyarados is already there. It's actually the 3rd. We also have Mega Sharpedo, so it's kind of copying. Moving on to Mega Clefable, a fairy and flying type Pokemon. This thing looks insane. With attack of 254, defense of 206, stamina of 216, and max CP level 50 of 4,317. With Fairy Wind and Dazzling Gleam as a fairy type attacker, it'll have a DPS of 16, TDO of 572, and it'll be the #2 fairy type attacker in Pokemon Go. Why the #2? Well, we really don't have any good fairy type megas. We obviously have Mega Gardevoir, but other than that, nothing too crazy, so still very strong. As far as a flying type attacker, Mega Clefable. Clefable barely knows any flying type moves. I don't think expected to gain the fairy type, and it can learn Air Slash in Pokemon Legends ZA, but no. Overall, disregard this Pokemon for the flying type category. It is nice because it does gain a double resistance to fighting when it does get the flying typing, which is cool, but that's just the same as Mega Gardevoir, which already has that. Nonetheless, I think Mega Gardevoir will still probably be the better option overall most of the time, unless you're going up against like ghost types. It is a really cool type combination though, flying and fairy. I'll give it a B for the catch candy ranking. Not bad at all, especially during spring themed events when we have little like flying Pidgeys flying around, but then also fairy types. Moving on to the most memeable Mega Victreebell, a grass and poison. This thing is insane looking. Attack of 265, stamina of 190, defense of 181, max CP level 50 of 3,986. As a grass type attacker with Magical Leaf and Leaf Blade, it will have a DPS of 17, TDO of 491, and be the #10 grass type attacker. As far as a poison type attacker with Acid and Sludge Bomb, a DPS of 17, TDO of 484, and it will be the #3 poison type attacker. So not bad. Unfortunately, this Pokemon's stats a little bit lackluster in terms of the mega category. There's just a lot of super insanely strong megas, and it will be outclassed, but still a cool mega nonetheless. It will not outclass Mega Beedrill or Eternatus, but it is a still cool Pokemon to get. And its type combination, I'm just gonna give it a C category for the catch candy bonus because we already have Mega Venusaur, which is the same type as this Pokemon. A kind of lackluster mega we can kind of skip over, but still a Pokemon I think deserved a mega, and anyone who loves Victreebell will be happy about this. Moving on to actually the second most memeable Mega Starmie, which just reminds me of the starfish from the second It's quad movie. It is a water and psychic type Pokemon. Has an attack of 303. Yeah, this thing has an insane attack stat. Defense of 229, stamina of 155, max CP LO50 of 4,600. With Water Gun and Hydro Pump, this Pokemon will have a DPS of 17, TDO of 494, and will be the number 14 water type attacker in Pokemon Go. As far as a psychic type attacker with Psywave and Psychic, have a DPS of 19, TDO of 549, will be the number 15 psychic type attacker. I think this Pokemon has really high stats, but Starmie never was given really good moves like Hydro Cannon and all these like busted starter moves. So it just can't really compete with the psychic and the water type Pokemon, but it's just like a better Mega Slowbro if we want to like put it in a category. And its design is funny. As far as its type combination, I'm going to put it in the C category because again, we already have Mega Slowbro in Pokemon Go, so it's nothing too special getting another water and psychic type Mega, especially when you already have one that is probably already Mega leveled up. Moving on to Mega Dragonite, the Pokemon that probably deserved the Mega the most in the Pokemon universe behind Mega Flygon. A dragon and flying type Pokemon, has an attack of 299, stamina of 209, defense of 255, max CP LO50 of 5,485. As far as a dragon type attacker with Dragon Tail and Outrage, Mega Dragonite will have a DPS of 19.18, TDO of 805, and will be the number 11 dragon type attacker in Pokemon Go. As far as a flying type attacker, this Pokemon can't really learn any flying type moves, specifically fast moves, so it just won't be able to compete in that category, especially against things like Mega Rayquaza. Mega Dragonite is a funny Mega Pokemon, and the problem with it is there's just so many strong dragon types in the game. You have Mega Salamence, Mega Garchomp, Mega Rayquaza, you have the shadow versions of those Pokemon, so competing in the top category is pretty tough for this Pokemon, but it is a cool shiny. It does have a cool shiny, which is really nice, but unfortunately, things like Mega Salamence might just be better, and Mega Rayquaza is just better than this thing. So it's still strong, but it's just kind of like a copy that might be a little bit worse. As far as its catch typing combination as well, I'm going to give it a C. It's not the best because again, we already have Mega Rayquaza, which is better than everything because it does boost flying, dragon, and psychic type Pokemon. So it's just better. Mega Skarmory though, another flying type Mega in the Pokemon universe that was added, a steel and flying type, attack of 273, stamina of 163, defense of 228, max CP LO50 of 4,254. As a steel type attacker with Steel Wing and Flash Cannon, will have a DPS of 15.6, TDO of 471, will be the number 13 steel type attacker. As far as a flying type attacker with Air, Slash, and Sky attack, DPS of 17, TDO of 520, will be the number 8 flying type attacker in the game. This Pokemon has always been known as a tanky PvP Pokemon, so getting a Mega is not going to make it too strong because like it's not meant to be the number 1 highest stat rate attacking Pokemon, but Pokemon could be interesting in the Mega Master League or in some sort of PvP format because it does have a very good typing. Steel and Flying, however, is a new type combination for the Mega category. We do not have a Steel and Flying type Mega, so I'll give it a B ranking in the Catch Candy rankings. A pretty useful Mega if we get certain events. Like, I guess it's amazing if Rookie despawns in the wild. Mega Frosslass, an Ice and Ghost type Pokemon. Attack of 289, stamina of 172, defense of 194, max CP LO50 of 4,268. As far as an Ice type attacker with Powder Snow and Avalanche, looking at DPS of 18.5, TDO of 504, with the number 3 Ice type attacker in the game. First, I'm just going to say this now. We've needed good Ice type Megas, so I'm hyped we're finally getting Mega Frosslass because the Ice type Megas from the original Mega release were just bad. As far as a Ghost type attacker with Hex and Shadow Ball, it'll have a DPS of 18.9, TDO of 513, and will be the number 8 Ghost type attacker in Pokemon Go. So really cool Pokemon. Not going to outclass White Kyurem and Shadow Mamoswine, but at least we have a Ice type Mega that does decent damage versus Mega Glalie and Abomasnow, which are like literally there's so many Pokemon better than it that aren't Megas. Ice and Ghost is also a really cool type combination we've never had before in Pokemon Go. So for Mega Boost, very good. I'm going to give it a B in the category. Could be very useful during Halloween events and then also holiday events. Moving on to my most hyped Mega, because I have a Shundo of it and I'm ready to Mega Evolve, Mega Excadrill, a ground and steel type Pokemon. Attack of 322, stamina of 242, defense of 184, and a max CP LO50 of 5,413. I'm so hyped to Mega Evolve this thing. With Mud Slap and Scorching Sands, this thing will have a DPS of 20.4, TDO of 725, will be the number 3 ground type attacker in the game. And as far as the steel type attacker with Metal Claw and Iron Head, DPS of 18.6, TDO of 662, and it'll be the number 6 steel type attacker in Pokemon Go. Mega Excadrill will not be as strong as Primal Groudon or Mega Garchomp, but still very, very solid and a still very accessible Pokemon, which will be very, very nice. I'm going to give it the B category, specifically just because we do have Mega Steelix already in Pokemon Go, but Mega Steelix is kind of a bad Pokemon that you really never are going to use in battle. So this is nice that we have a ground and steel type Mega that you can Mega Evolve and use in battles, and both ground and steel type is amazing Mega Boost to have because there's a lot of meta relevant ground and steel type Pokemon. Mega Scoliopede, more bug type Megas are getting some love with a bug and poison type Pokemon with an attack of 257, stamina of 155, defense of 254, max CP of 50 of 4,131. As far as the bug type attacker with Bug Bite and Mega Horn, this Pokemon will have a DPS of 15.5, TDO of 493, and will be the number 11 pure bug type attacker in the game. As far as the poison type, where it does better with Poison Jab and Sludge Bomb, will have a DPS of 16.4, TDO of 521, and will be the number 4 poison type attacker. Really, really cool that we're getting more stronger poison type Pokemon in the game and bug types as well, but definitely a undervalued category. Think of it as like a tankier version of a Mega Beedrill. Obviously, he's still outclassed by a couple different things like Mega Beedrill and Eternatus, Nihilego, all that stuff, but still very strong. Also, bug and poison is going to get the C category for the catch candy because we already have Mega Beedrill in the game, so it's not really changing anything as far as catch candy boost goes. Mega Scrafty, a dark and fighting type Pokemon. I did not expect this Pokemon to get a Mega, but it did with an attack of 239, stamina of 163, defense of 266, the max appeal of 50 of 4,035. As far as the dark type attacker with Snarl and Foul Play, will have a DPS of 15, TDO of 529, and will be the number 21 dark type attacker. And for a fighting type attacker with Counter and Power Up Punch, will have a DPS of 14, TDO of 487, and will be the number 38 fighting type attacker. Scrafty's always been a PvP Pokemon, not the highest stat Pokemon, so makes sense why it's not a good raid attacker, and probably won't even be that good in the Mega Master League. Kind of a similar situation to things like Mega Medicham. However, it is a really, really cool looking Mega Pokemon, which is cool. Overall, nothing too insane. I will say it does have a cool catch candy boost type, dark and fighting, two really pretty meta relevant types that there's a lot of rare spawns you want more candies for, so I'll put it in the B category for that. If Scrafty does ever get some cool moves, and most of these Pokemon, if they ever get cool moves like High Jump Kick, it could get a little bit stronger, by the way. Mega Eeleektross, a pure electric type Mega, did not get a new typing for this Mega. Attack of 291, stamina of 198, defense of 175, and a max CP of 50 of 4,372. For an electric type attacker, it will have Spark and Thunderbolt as its moveset with a DPS of 17.8, TDO of 500. It will be the number 12 electric type attacker in the game. Mega Eeleektross is the only new electric type Mega in the game, and it won't be better than Mega Manectric or Mega Ampharos, which are already in Pokemon Go, which is a shame because we do not have that many electric type Megas that are strong, so I would love to see more. It's not happening though. This Pokemon is also going to get a D for the category on how good it is because it only boosts one type, being a pure electric type. So not really a Pokemon you're going to want at all. Very unfortunate because I think this Pokemon was really cool, but it kind of got the short end of the stick. It only has one type and it didn't get that strong. Mega Chandelure, though, on the other hand, is a Pokemon that did get a pretty good boost with an attack of 335 on a Mega, still very high, stamina 155, defense of 227, max CP at level 50 of 5,042. It does retain the Ghost and Fire typing, by the way. For a Ghost type attacker with Hex and Shadow Ball, it'll have a DPS of 22 and a TDO of 632, being the number 3 Ghost type attacker in Pokemon Go. As far as a Fire type attacker with Fire Spin and Overheat, DPS of 20.4, TDO of 595 will be the number 5 Fire type attacker in the game. This Pokemon has a really, really cool design and is a pretty good raid attacker in the game. It's not going to be the best, you know, Dawnwings, Necrozma, Mega Gengar, still better than it, and a bunch of Fire type Pokemon, but having the Ghost type is pretty useful against certain bosses where you can resist the fighting type and the normal type moves, and being a Ghost and Fire type, we'll give it the B as far as a catch candy typing because it is a new combination, and honestly, there's a lot of meta relevant Ghost types that you want to boost. Mega Pyroar is the next Fire type Mega we have to talk about, being a Fire and normal type Pokemon, attack of 273, 103, stamina of 200, defense of 198, with a max CP level 50 of 4,377. As far as a fire type attacker with Fire Fang and Overheat, we'll have a DPS of 19.9, TDO of 570, and will be the number 17 fire type attacker in Pokemon Go. Really cool design Pokemon. It's a new Mega, has a really nice Mega Shiny, but overall there's just way better things. This is just going to be one of those Megas that's just going to be kind of outclassed and shoved under the rug. Normal and Fire is a new type combination, so that could be pretty cool. I'll give it the C ranking for the Catch Candy ranking, but there's not that many events that feature both these typings, so it's going to be kind of like a case-by-case basis. That brings us to, I would say, one of my favorite designed Megas from the new ones, with Mega Malamar being a Dark and Psychic type Pokemon, having an attack of 208, stamina of 200, defense of 222, and a max CP level 50 of 3,575. Pretty low max CP for a Mega. As far as a Dark type attacker, Malamar doesn't learn any Dark fast moves, so it cannot be used as a Dark type attacker. As far as Psychic, with Psywave and Psybeam, we'll have a DPS of 10 and TDO of 377, but you can't even rank this. It's just too low to count on the list. Is going to be like rank 50, 60. Not good. Some Mega Pokemon's power rely heavily on their ability, and there's no abilities in Pokemon Go, so that's why things like Mega Medicham, Mawile, Sableye, all kind of just bad in Pokemon Go because their stats are not very good, and there's no abilities in Pokemon Go. So this is one of those Pokemon, again, going to be shoved under the rug. I love the design, but it's just not good statistically wise. It is a B, though, for the Catch Candy ranking because it is a new type combination, and specifically for Psychic Spectacular and Halloween events, this Pokemon could be very useful to get more candies for different Pokemon. Mega Barbaracle, the rock and fighting type Pokemon, gaining a new typing, yes, becoming a rock and fighting, having an attack of 268, defense of 248, stamina of 176, and a max CP level 50 of 4,505. As far as a rock type attacker, Barbaracle doesn't get any rock type fast moves, so it can't be used for that. As far as a fighting type attacker, it doesn't get any fighting type fast moves. Yeah, so this Pokemon currently in Pokemon Go doesn't have the move set to really work its Mega and get its most use out of it. So very interesting. It's one of the only new Mega Pokemon that actually changes its secondary typing. Mega Gyarados is one of the Megas that does that, but Barbaracle does that as well, which is cool. If it does ever get the moves Low Kick and Superpower, it could give it some use as a fighting type, but I don't think it's going to be very good because there's just so many good fighting type Megas in the game, especially with new Megas like, you know, Hawlucha, which we're going to talk about, and Emboar coming as well to Pokemon Go. This is just unfortunately a Mega we won't see too much. However, pretty cool type combination, fighting and rock type, so I'll give it the B for the Catch Candy ranking, especially during Adventure Week events, fighting focused events. This could be a Mega you'd want to Mega Evolve. Mega Dragalge is the next Mega on the list, being a Poison and Dragon type Pokemon, not changing its typing, with an attack of 237, stamina of 168, defense of 265, very high defense stat. With Acid and Gunk Shot, it will have a DPS of 14.2, TDO of 494, be the number 11 Poison type attacker, and with Dragon Tail and Outrage, it will have a DPS of 15, TDO of 530, and be the number 41 Dragon type attacker. This Pokemon, definitely more of a defensive Pokemon, so as far as Megas go, defense doesn't help them too much because you want to use them for raid attacking and you can't use them in PvP. Could be used as a decent poison type attacker. However, we have a bunch of new poison type Megas coming that will probably be better than it. Might not be bad against certain like fairy type Pokemon, but also you're part dragon. So yeah, overall this Mega, again, another one that's just going to be kind of outshined in Pokemon Go, unfortunately. Also being a poison and dragon type Mega is a new type, which could come in handy, but I'll give it the C ranking for the Catch Candy ranking because we'll have to wait and see. It's going to be a case-by-case basis if this Mega will be useful to Mega Evolve for more Catch Candy. Mega Hawlucha, the flying and fighting type Hawluchador Pokemon, with an attack of 281, stamina of 186, defense of 212, max CP level 50 of 4,491. With Low Kick and Flying Press, they'll have a DPS of 21.5, TDO of 681. It will be the number 3 fighting type attacker in Pokemon Go. Yes, very, very strong. As far as flying type, it can't learn a flying type fast move in Pokemon Go currently, so it can't be categorized. Now, while this Pokemon is not going to be as good as Resolute Form, Keldeo, and things like Mega Lucario, still going to be a very strong fighting type raid attacker, specifically because of the move Flying Press, which is an insanely strong statistic wise move. Only Pikachu Libre is the other Pokemon that can learn it. Fun fact, in the main series games, Flying Press is a fighting type and flying type move, not in Pokemon Go though, because you don't get cool things. Overall though, a great Pokemon. And another great thing about this Mega is that it is a regional. So when it does come to Mega raids, you can get this regional Heracross anywhere in the world because it'll probably be in raids globally. Fighting and flying type is a new type combination as well for the Mega Boost. So I'll give it the B category for the Catch Candy ranking. Pretty cool types to go ahead and boost. Again, it's going to be case by case scenario, but flying and fighting are two pretty good types to boost. We then have Mega Drampa, the normal and dragon type Pokemon, which is one of my favorite new Megas. I think they killed it with the design of this. Having an attack of 278, stamina of 186, defense of 210, and a max CPL of 50 of 4,425. As far as a dragon type attacker with Dragon Breath and Outrage, I'll have a DPS of 17.5, TDO of 550, be the number 34 dragon type attacker in the game. And we're not going to categorize it as a normal type because normal is not good for raids. Now, like I mentioned, with all the dragon types on this list, it's always hard to compete in the top dragon type category because we have so many strong Pokemon up there. Things like Mega Rayquaza, Eternatus, all of that stuff. So you're not really going to be at the top of the category, and this is why Mega Drampa falls short. Drampa can learn Breaking Swipe, so if it ever does get that move, it could make it a little bit better as a dragon type attacker. Currently, this Pokemon is just not going to be the best. Normal and dragon is a new type combination, though, to boost, which is interesting. So I'll give it a B in the category. It's very interesting. I think it could be used during dragon themed events when you also have a couple normal type Pokemon appearing around. Pretty unique type combination to go ahead and boost. So I'm actually going to give it a B because I think it's not that bad. We then have Mega Falinks, which is a pure fighting type Pokemon, did not gain a type, which is kind of unfortunate. Having an attack of 267, stamina of 163, defense of 229, and a max CPL of 50 of 4,174. As a fighting type attacker, it will get counter and superpower for its moves, having a DPS of 16.5, TDO of 499, and will be the number 16 fighting type attacker in the game. As far as designs go, this thing is just hilarious, and I think literally lives up to what a Mega is all about. Just elevating the design. I think it's just so funny. But unfortunately, there's just so many strong fighting type attackers in the game, and this Pokemon just doesn't have the best stats overall. So it's just not really going to be the best Pokemon there is. And that's why it's the number 16 type. Also, it's going to get the D category for the Catch Candy ranking because it only boosts one type, which is fighting. So unfortunately, cool design, but a Mega that again is just going to be kind of a skip when it does come to the raid day. That brings us to Mega Floette, the Eternal Flower Floette. Yes, very interesting that Floette got the Mega, not Florges, but it is based on Legend ZA, the character called AZ. There's a bunch of lore behind it, and this 3,000-year-old Floette. Nonetheless, it is going to be a pure fairy type Pokemon, have an attack of 309, stamina of 179, and defense of 265 with a max CPL of 50 of 5,363. So in Legends ZA, Eternal Floette has the same move pool as regular Floette, excluding Eternal Floette's signature move. In Pokemon GO, Floette doesn't learn a Fairy type fast move currently, but it can learn Fairy Wind in the main series game. So if it ever does get Fairy Wind, Eternal Floette's move pool could have Fairy Wind and Dazzling Gleam, giving it a DPS of 18.99, TDO of 716, and being the number 1 Fairy type attacker in Pokemon GO, outclassing Mega Gardevoir. Eternal Floette also does have an exclusive move called Ruin of Light, which if added could make this Pokemon even stronger. So overall, this could be the new best Fairy type attacker in Pokemon GO. We don't even have the base form of Eternal Floette in the game. It's kind of like a regional variant. It's like a weird Pokemon. I don't know if it even counts as a regional. It's like a Wiglet to a Diglett, I think. Nonetheless, it only does boost one type, which is Fairy type, so I'll give it the D category for Candy as far as boosting goes. But if Eternal Floette ever does come to Pokemon GO, could be a good Fairy type. And that brings us to the final Mega, the strongest Mega. We saved the best for last, a Pokemon that might completely break Pokemon GO, which is going to be Mega Zygarde. See, Mega Zygarde is a dragon and ground type Pokemon. And when it does come to Mega Pokemon usually doesn't apply stat nerfs, because if you don't know, legendaries and most Pokemon in Pokemon GO get I think it's 3% stat nerf to all their stats just to make them more fair in the Pokemon universe. Normally this doesn't apply to Megas, however, for the likes of things like Primal Groudon, Primal Kyogre, Mega Rayquaza, they did get these 3% stat nerfs because these things are just so busted that they need to kind of be nerfed. So my guess is when Mega Zygarde does come to Pokemon GO, it will get the 3% stat nerf. But let's break it down. Without the stat nerf, Mega Zygarde will have an attack of 416, stamina of 417, and defense of 187 with a max CPL of 50 of 9,043. If you apply a 3% nerf to all of its stats, it will have an attack still of 404, stamina of 405, defense of 181, and a max CP of 8,539. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that will be our new highest max CP Pokemon in Pokemon Go, unless Pokemon Go team just completely changes something. Now, with Dragon Tail and Outrage, this does give Mega Zygarde a DPS of 26.32 and a TDO of 1,504, making it the #1 Dragon-type attacker in Pokemon Go, outclassing Mega Rayquaza, Eternatus, all of these Pokemon with or without the 9% or the 3% stat nerf. It literally doesn't matter. Zygarde is also one of those Pokemon that has 5 signature moves in the Pokemon universe. Yes, it has 5 signature moves, which is just insane. It can learn Land's Wrath, its exclusive ground-type move, Thousand's Waves, its exclusive ground-type move, Thousand Arrows, a ground-type move, Core Enforcer, a dragon-type move, and when you Mega Evolve a Mega Zygarde with Core Enforcer, it changes to Nihil of Light, the 5th exclusive Zygarde move. All of these moves, we don't know when they're going to come to Pokemon Go. Will they come with the new Kalos tour coming soon? There's a lot they can do with Zygarde. It's kind of insane. So I'm very, very excited for this Pokemon to come. It might be one of those Pokemon that will end up just like breaking the game. Thousand Waves and Thousand Arrows are 2 moves that we could see getting adventure effects in Pokemon Go. Unfortunately, Zygarde doesn't have any ground type fast moves or can't even learn any moves that could come to Pokemon Go on Zygarde that are ground type fast moves. So it's going to be a mixed ground type attacker when it does come to the game. But if Core Enforcer comes to Zygarde, that will be a pure dragon type Pokemon that will definitely make Zygarde a better dragon type move. Core Enforcer becomes Nihil Light when it does get Mega Evolved, which is a move that can hit fairy type Pokemon in the main series games. Just going to be very interested to see how this Pokemon comes to the game. Mega Evolving Zygarde will be a little complicated because you can only Mega Evolve the complete form of Zygarde. So there might be some sort of restrictions where you need to, get the complete form to actually go ahead and Mega Evolve it. But I guess take this as your sign to start collecting your Zygarde cells if you want to be ready for when Mega Zygarde does come to Pokemon Go, so you can Mega Evolve that Pokemon. As far as the combination for the Catch Candy, Ground and Dragon, I'm already going to put in the B category. However, like most legendary Mega Pokemon, usually there's a 3rd typing they can go ahead and boost. Kyogre boosts all the types from rainy weather, Groudon sunny, Rayquaza windy. Don't know what they're going to want to do with Mega Zygarde. Like, what weather boost will it do? Will it be 4 typings? Will it be 3? This Pokemon is the Order Pokemon that tries to create balance between life and destruction, aka Xerneas and Yveltal. So maybe it will boost Drowned, Dragon, Fairy, and Dark type. Maybe it'll boost 4 types. We'll have to wait and see how good it is. But overall, I could definitely see this Pokemon being pretty useful, especially because it will most likely boost 3 typings. So guys, that is it. Let me know in the comment section below what Mega you're most excited about. I do want to reiterate. That's not how you say it. I do want to tell you again that all this is speculation. So don't take it for word, don't take it for gospel. We'll have to wait and see when these Megas actually do come to Pokemon Go, where the rankings exactly drop. But this is probably generally accurate because the system of taking Megas from the main series games into Pokemon Go has been the same since the start of the game. Watch the other 2 videos on screen if you enjoyed this one. We'll catch you guys all in the next one. Follow our tips, everybody. Peace.